I'm Karen Johnson, and today we'll be demonstrating needle turn applique. Now, I'm going to show you how to do the knot, but then I'm going to turn it over to Deb to demonstrate the applique because she's much better at it than I am. So I'm going to start with a knot. I'm holding the needle in one hand and the tail in the other, and as you can see, this is just a very fine silk thread. I compress it, sort of, and then wrap it. Because it's such a fine thread, I'm going to wrap it maybe 7 or 8 times. With a thicker thread, you don't need to do it as often. And then I'm still kind of gripping it with one finger. Now gripping it with the other and pushing it through. And do this a little bit slowly so you don't get knots in places you don't want. And then you have a knot. So Deb's going to demonstrate the actual needle turn stitch now. She's already pre-clipped her curves, and now she'll show you.
So I'm going to take a slight fold here on this line that's been drawn for our pattern piece, and I'm going to take my needle up through the fold on the inside to catch my knot, and then I'll just take a tiny stitch and go through the fold and bring it out and turn under that little bit of edge, and then take another stitch through the fold again.
So you're really letting the needle do all the work, right?
Yes.
And notice she's using a contrasting thread here so that you can see the stitches, but in reality you'd use a matching thread so that it disappears. But I know that Deb's stitches are so tiny that you probably won't even see it with the contrasting thread.
And I like to, after about 3 stitches, then give it a slight tug. It helps to
Kind of sink it in there.
sink it in there, and it gives a nice little puff to the edge too of the piece.
So here's another angle for you so that you can see those tight little stitches. So you can see she just takes a little bit at a time to turn under, and the rest is just left hanging loose. And she lets the needle do all the work. So now we're going to demonstrate an inside point. These are tricky, I have to be honest with you, and it does take practice. So Deb's going to show us how to prep that little corner before she starts stitching.
I've gone ahead and taken my fine point scissors and made a clip to the inside point.
Probably just within a couple of threads of the marked line, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then you want to take your needle and turn under and take your stitch.
It looks like you're going right down into that point, aren't you?
Yes, and I like to take 2 stitches at this point just to secure it and hold the thread in place real good before you turn it again on the other side. And then I tuck this side over. It's very important to just take little pieces at a time with your needle and turn under. And then back up through this side in the fold. And then again, turn under some more with the needle to the back side. Trying to keep that nice curved edge as you go.
And just finish that stitch and then show us that point a little bit, because that is amazing. You make it look so easy. Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome.
So now Deb is going to demonstrate an outer point. Also a little bit tricky because you have a lot of extra fabric in a tiny little space. So she's already done a little pre-stitching and she's about to approach the edge. Go ahead, Deb.
Okay, so I've come up this side and I'm just about to the point. So I'm going to take and cut off a little bit of the tip of this piece. And I'm going to continue up to the point. And I'm going to take a double stitch there just to secure my thread and hold that point in place better.
Looks like fingernails are handy for this.
Yes. And then I'm going to turn this under just a little bit, just ever so little. Take another little, oops, it popped out on me.
And that'll happen. This does take practice. And when you're using a fine seam allowance right there, it's going to fray, so do work carefully.
It's another double stitch just for extra to make it secure. And then I might take just a little bit more snip right about here.
Just to get rid of some of that bulk.
Yes. And then turn
Nice.
under again. And then just continuing on down the side.
And you have a point. Thanks. So here's one with matching thread so that you can see how nice it looks.